What's going on, guys? There's a little movie hitting theaters this week called Monster Trucks. Haven't heard of it? Well, join the club. In fact, the studio releasing it took what's called a write-off on the film, which means they predicted that the movie was going to crap the bed at the box office. And that got us thinking, what are the biggest box office bombs of all time? We're gonna talk about that today. And we have a panel who itself is the bomb. First off, I'd like to welcome back the host of FX Movie Download, and she is the Diane Sawyer of Screen Junkies News. Welcome back, Sasha Pearl Raver.
Thanks, Hal. I'm excited to talk about big turds.
Oh yeah, some big stinking box office turds.
And who better to do it with?
Come on now.
Yes, he is the host of Super Animation Game Time on Geek and Sundry, and you know him from the Top 10 list, and you can see him on Collider Movie Talk every Friday. Right. John Rocco, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I mean, I was in the military for 8 years, so I know about bombs, so let's make this happen. Let's talk about it. Let's do it.
So, right out of the gate, let's talk about the three biggest bombs of all time. And these numbers are adjusted for inflation, so however you stack it, these are the biggest losers. First off, okay, a 1995 pirate adventure starring Gina Davis, Cutthroat Island.
Ugh, what a terrible movie. That thing is, I mean, Pirates already is a difficult subject to do a movie about. To crash and burn as bad as they did on this film.
Water is dangerous.
Yes, water is dangerous.
Come to seek my treasure, have you?
Let's finish this.
Let's get into these numbers here. These are 1995 numbers, but even an idiot like me can tell that these are terrible. Cost $98 million, made $18.3 million. And if you take that, the loss adjusted for inflation, $140 million.
Well, the rule is what? You have to make 2.5 times the original budget of the film to see a profit. Right. And this isn't even, this is making like almost 4.5 times less than what it started out with.
And here's the thing, is whenever we get these budget numbers, they never talk about marketing. Marketing is such a huge amount of the cost of the movie. They don't factor that in. That could be another $50 million that they're not even accounting for.
Yeah, international marketing as well. Moving on, the second biggest bomb adjusted for inflation of all time, Titan AE. Yeah. The production budget was between 75 and 90 million. It grossed 36.8 million.
Damn.
Estimated loss adjusted for inflation, $139 million.
You have to try so hard when you have a family movie to not bring people in.
Well, once again, this may be a film that sank the studio. Fox Animation Studios closed after it got released. You know, it was the last film they released. So maybe they're like, yeah, we're no good at this. We're going to stop here.
Yeah, we're going to give up the lease.
I don't remember this movie at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
like I have no recollection of it. I think there was like a Martian planet. It was Matt Damon's prequel to The Martian, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about it.
It was more like a prequel to Mars Needs Moms as far as box office. Hey now. And then the third biggest bomb of all time, 2002's Pluto Nash. Budget $100 million, estimated gross $7.1 million.
Oh, God.
And the loss adjusted for inflation, $128 mil.
God.
A cool 128.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Look at me.
It's amazing to me because Eddie has so many bombs on his resume, but people still keep giving him a shot because of the goodwill from the 80s and the stuff he did with Mulan and the stuff he's done with Shrek, with Donkey, obviously. Like, he still keeps coming. People still want to believe.
And the Nutty Professor.
Yeah,
like, he had a good family.
He'll show up in, like, Dreamgirls and be good.
Right, he's great in Dreamgirls.
But then he makes, when he does a standalone where he has his own
like Mr. Church last year was right to me.
Sasha and John, you each came in with a couple of films that you wanted to talk about, just bombs that really, that hurt you, that struck you to the core.
Yeah, big time.
Sasha, why don't you introduce one here?
I have one that struck me to the core on so many different levels. It was terrible. It was just unnecessary. And then it bombed and it made me feel a little better, but I almost wish it had done worse. And that movie is Ben-Hur. Yeah. The third remake of Ben-Hur. Yeah. Just utterly unnecessary. Timur Bekmambetov basically taking like a GoPro and throwing a volleyball down like a horse race, and it just made no sense.
Come on! Are we having fun now, brother?
There was nothing about it that was redeemable. There was no reason to make it. But it made what? 94 million, and the budget was 100. Yeah. I feel like that movie deserves to have made like 14 million.
And real quick, the stats on Ben-Hur. Production budget, 100 million. It made 94 million. And the estimated loss, adjusted for inflation, between 75 and 122 million. So I guess that's with marketing and...
Marketing, promotion, everything else, but it also just lost so much goodwill.
So we've talked about some directors earlier. The Wachowski siblings had a little offering recently called Jupiter Ascending. Production budget was 176 million. International gross, 184. Estimated loss, adjusted for inflation, 88 to 121 million.
And almost an Oscar. If this had come out a little bit earlier, I think Redmayne does not win the Oscar. Eddie is so bad in this
So bad in that movie.
I think if enough audience had seen this before the vote happened, he'd have been sunk. And I think that's why the studio waited, or he pushed them to wait until the last minute to release it.
Life is an act of consumption.
John, why don't you throw one out there?
Yeah, I would throw in here Green Lantern. That was one that I was so excited they were going to do, and then they cast Ryan Reynolds. And I love Ryan Reynolds. I'm a fan of Ryan Reynolds. I love Van Wilder. I love Just Friends, one of my closet favorite Christmas movies. And they put him in Hal Jordan. He is not Hal Jordan. He is Wally West. And when you started to see the jokey things that he does, which he did great in Deadpool, you saw it as Hal Jordan. You're like, no, Hal Jordan's a cocky pilot who who gives zero F's about anybody, and when you put him in a situation like Ryan, it doesn't work.
Green. I know, right?
Green Lantern, 2011. Budget, 200 million. Gross, 220 million. And the estimated loss, adjusted for inflation, 73 to 96 million, give or take.
I would argue that it was more of a loss, because the potential of hundreds of millions of dollars they could have made was astronomical, and so the loss, I think, although it says 73 to 96, I think it's probably 300 or 400 million.
More than that, because it would have been a franchise.
Yeah, it would have been.
You would have had a
absolutely.
franchise. It could have grown and grown, and it really is something where they're still, I think, trying to rebuild.
Do you want to throw out another one there, Sasha?
Let's talk about Pan.
Oh, boy, do we have
Pan.
to? Do we have to?
We'll talk about it briefly. Well, especially, I feel like this came up for me in my head because I also just watched Emerald City, which is just like, that's actually getting good ratings, but man, that show sucks. But Pan is a similar thing. It's like, this is a great idea. It's a reimagining of Peter Pan. I know. Let's throw in Smells Like Teen Spirit, because for nothing.
Here we are now. Hesitate us.
So bad.
That Nirvana scene, it's just like nails on a chalkboard.
The thing that I do appreciate is all the movies we're talking about really did deserve to bomb.
Yes.
Like, these are all really terrible movies that I'm grateful audiences didn't suffer through en masse.
Production budget, 150 million. I don't even know what these numbers mean. That is so much. I have trouble fathoming that amount of money. Gross, 128.4 million. Estimated loss, adjusted for inflation, with everything all told, 94 to 152 million dollars. Ooh, Sasha, I know you got one more for us.
This one is just a doozy of filmmaking. Have you guys ever seen Battlefield Earth?
I've not seen Battlefield Earth.
So this is one of those, like, rent for home so that you can stand up and scream on your couch, just like Tom Cruise would. That was a Scientology shout out right there. This was John Travolta's passion project.
Yes.
He wanted to make this movie, which is based on an L. Ron Hubbard novelle. This was basically his passion project that he wanted to do for years, and nobody would make it because it's horribly written. It's a terrible, terrible movie. But there was this company back in like the 90s, 80s and 90s, that was financing celebrity passion projects. This sunk that business. It is the nadir of John Travolta's career. And this is like post Pulp Fiction.
yeah.
This is like post Get Shorty. He was at a point where he could do whatever he wanted. And he was like, I want to make a Scientology propaganda piece.
My informants tell me that the first order of business is to separate you from your head.
The production budget on Battlefield Earth was somewhere between 73 to 103 million. It grossed 29.7 million, and adjusted for inflation, they took a $102 million loss.
Almost the entire production budget.
Yes, wow, crazy. And John, you've got one more stinkeroo to talk about here.
Another remake, which Sasha had brought up, Ben-Hur, Poseidon, which is a remake of one of the great disaster movies of the 70s, The Poseidon Adventure, with Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Shelley Winters, Edward Albert, so many great actors in that film. What a great, enjoyable film. and then they decide to remake it, call it Poseidon, put Kurt Russell in it, Richard Dreyfuss as a guy who wants to kill himself, but all of a sudden wants to live after he wants to kill himself.
That's Richard
It's so
Dreyfuss in real
ridiculous.
life, by the way.
It is. And you think, well, Richard Dreyfuss going back to the water like he did in Jaws, this can work. Or what about Bob? This can work.
Water is dangerous.
Yeah.
It is so
that's a good
easy.
point.
Cutthroat Island, Poseidon, it is Waterworld. It is very easy to make a bad movie on
You can
water.
argue Titan AE because it's essentially a pirate film in space. You can argue
It
Titan
is
AE.
very easy to set sail for box office gold and then sink.
Yeah.
Wow. Are there any bombs that we left off this list that you're like, oh, why aren't they talking about this one? Please let us know in the comments section below. We want to know what you're thinking. Oh, I gotta thank this dream team. You guys, again, are the bomb personified. Sasha, tell us where we can find you.
You can find me at Sasha Pearl Raver on Twitter and Instagram, here with Screen Junkies News, and hosting FX Movie Download every Friday night.
John Roca.
Yeah, you guys can always find me at The Roca Says on Twitter and on Instagram. You see me every Friday on Collider Movie Talk, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on Geek and Sundry's Twitch channel with Super Animation Game Time with Yuri Lowenthal, and then possibly the Top 10 show. There's rumors about it coming back. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
We'll stay tuned for that. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. I'm Hal Rudnick. Hit me up on Twitter. Bye-bye. Hey guys, did you know that this end card works with your phone now? I know, right? Click the boxes below to watch more Screen Junkies videos, and click the Screen Junkies logo to subscribe and get this show, honest trailers, movie fights, and more.